Hey everybody, I thought it was about time for an update video here. It's been a little while, and I had somebody in the comments on one of my last videos asked, I probably was the last one, asked about my molds for tires for resin. So I said that I would show the molds in the next video. Let me grab them here. And these are by no means the ultimate way to make tires, because they do give me a little bit of, a little trouble. I get some good ones and I get some failures. So let's get the camera on the bench here, and we'll go over the other stuff I'm working on later. Clear off the mess here just a little bit. Okay, here's one of my molds for slicks. And if I'm not mistaken, this is one that I've modified once or twice. It was a two-piece, and I think I poured some silicone to make like a hinge. So what I did is I had some pieces of sprue glued to the tire to make vents. These sides were the vents, and this side was the pour spout after I modified it. Originally it was just, lay it down, pour it in, and slap the top on. But I've since modified it, so when I rubber band it together, like this, and then I pre-fill it first as much as I can to try to eliminate air pockets at the bottom. So I pre-fill it, then I rubber band it together, and then I pour into the top holes until it comes out of these vent holes. And I've had pretty many good ones. The only main problem I have with them is they don't stay round, and I don't know if the silicone is like too soft, and a lot of times the tires come out, they're a little bit more egg-shaped. But I get some good ones and some bad ones. And let's see. Here's another one. This is a cut mold. And this is also for slicks. This one has a lot of air bubbles in the, I don't know if you can see that, air bubbles in the silicone, which makes for not a perfect casting, but I sand them off anyway, so it don't matter. And same deal with this. I usually pour a little bit of resin in, rubber band it together, and I just pour it in the top holes until it comes out the vent holes. And this has been pretty successful. I have a few. Here's another one for slicks. I think this might be one that gives me the out around tires more. And these are two different slicks, because I can see the Goodyear in that one. I don't know if you can see that or not. The Goodyear lettering, and this one has no lettering. But this one I pre-fill, and then I put the lid on, and it only goes one way. You can see that's got Goodyear on it also, so that goes to that side, and plus the locator pins. And then I rubber band it and just top it off in these holes. I think that might be all the slicks. The rest might be front tires. Yeah, here's some Moroso front runners, I believe. Goodyear. Yeah, these are Goodyear front runners. There's a little bit of Goodyear lettering in there. And same deal, pre-fill a little bit, rubber band it together, pour in the fill holes until it comes out the vent holes. These I have better luck with than the slicks because they're smaller, so they don't go out around so much. And this is I think this is the Moroso drag special fronts. Yeah, it says Moroso in there. If you can, not sure if it'll show up or not. Now I think those were some of those that gave me trouble. I ended up making just a single tire mold. This is also the Moroso. And this one I did a little bit different. So I pre-fill it, and I put holes in it afterwards. So I use my locators here to line it up, and then I fill from the fill tube again until it comes out the vent hole. This one has been working pretty good for me. And I think there's one more. Yeah, this is another one for a slick that's just a single. Still has some residue left over in it. This is a M&H Race Master. So this is kind of the same principle as that front tire, the single tire, where I just fill it up match up my hole, my filler hole. You can see I cut it into the tread area, which there's no tread on a slick, but the face of the tire, I just cut a little notch in there, you know, sand that off, no problem. And have the fill tube here. Sorry, fill tube here. The big one's the fill, the small one's the vent. Yeah, vent, fill. These will only go on one way. That's one nice thing about you know, put these locator pins in, then they'll only go one way. And, you know, fill from here till it comes out the vent. That's basically all there is to it with those. The biggest problem I get is air pockets, though, in the tire. And I've learned that if they're not real bad, I fill them with super glue and baking soda. I mean, once you paint it, you want to sand it and paint it. Nobody ever knows there was a air pocket there at the beginning. So that's that. We'll go to the Oldsmobile first, Pro Stocker. I'm making more progress. That's all glued in now. I have the battery cables run. The black one there is just a ground, so it stops there. The red one goes all the way to the starter. Fuel line, you can see back here, I made a fuel pump. The fuel line goes from the tank to the pump and then through the floor under the car. Keep getting out of frame of camera here, sorry. And the fuel line runs all the way up to the regulator. And then from there I have the black fuel lines to the carburetors. Parachute cable, you already saw that. That's been on. That's just tied up on top of the roll cage for now because it's going to go through the body. I've got the ignition boxes in there, the MSD box and the rev limiter. And I found some in my decals. I had little MSD decals, so I put them on. Somewhere else I put a decal if I can find. Oh, I put a chassis certification decal on the roll bar. Yeah, you can see it there. Seat belts. Thanks to Pete in England. Pete in jolly old England. He sent me those seat belts. I think there was one other. Oh, I put a decal on the bell housing. The Trick titanium decal for the bell housing. Dry sump oil lines. They're not perfectly where they need to be, but for what you see, it's fine. You know, I got it. They're on the oil pan. I have a couple up on the tank. They do go to the pump, but I just stuffed them down in there because you can't see it. So I'm pretty much finished with the detailing on that end of it, I believe. Steering columns in, steering wheel. I still want to try to make a window net somehow, but I think it's coming along really good. I think I'm happy with it. I've been fooling with the hood. The first hood I was using, it ended up being twisted too much, and this one's twisted a little bit. This was actually one of my rejects. You can see I filled in here with super glue and baking soda, and it was fine on the top. It was just had a bad spot on the bottom, so that's okay. I do have to. I'm going to put this in some hot water. It's hard to see sitting on this mat, but it's a little bit warped when you put it on the front end. The front end's not spread because it's not mounted on the car, but you can see that front corner sticks up. So I'm going to try to put that in some hot water and see if I can straighten it. But the scoop is in the right location. I had to add a little bit to the sides here. You can see when I put the front end on, and it grabs with the magnets, it grabs quick. But you can see the carburetors clear the scoop. So that all worked out pretty good. Still, I haven't done a whole lot more body work on it. I did put some putty on, but It's really nothing to show. Just a little bit of putty there. I got to sand off. I still have all the door fitments to do, which is going to be coming up soon. I was thinking this would be about a month away from being finished, but maybe a little bit longer than that, depending on how much fit issues there is with the door. Then we got the opal. Again, a little more putty on there. I'm having a lot of trouble getting this bodywork finished to where it suits me. And I found STS Decals is supposed to be making me decals for this car. I sent them pictures, sent them payment, and they sent me the final approval on the artwork, and it looks really good. Looks just like the real car did. So I don't know how long it's going to take to get yet. Once I give them the approval, which I did, they should just have to print them and mail them. But coming to Thailand is going to take a couple weeks to get in the mail, and I don't know how long it takes them to get them printed. So when I get them, I'll be sure and show what they look like. But for now, I need to try to get this bodywork finished and get some color on it. And I found that the front end, because there was never an Opel Cadet 69 Opel Cadet kit, and this was a Fremont Resins body, and I believe from looks of it somebody made it from a Nova maybe. It had a little bit of things that weren't quite accurate, which I've tried to address. One was the grill. If you look at, where's my other front end? Oh, here. I'll explain why there's a hole in there later. But you can see the grill bars here. Maybe the real car had, I think they had more like an egg crate grill, but my dad's car that I'm making a replica of, this was just flat. And these headlights were sticking too far back. I mean, like on his real car, that fiberglass front end, the headlights stuck out. So what I did, oh, and also this spoiler shouldn't be here for what I'm doing. So I modified that to make it look like the real one. I'm going off of pictures and my memory. Filled in the grooves here, but the headlights are actually too far back in. So that brings me to this, where I'm cutting the headlights out of this resin body that I made, and they're going to have a little bit more work to do on them, but they're going to get glued right to the old headlights, and then they'll stick out like the real car did. I don't have any pictures here handy to show, but I have one on my telephone that I'm going by. So I'm trying to get all these last minute things figured out before I can get paint on it, but I'm getting there. Shame I didn't want to have to ruin a body, but I can make more. I mean, I have two. And that just brings to the 40 Ford, which is, it's moving along. Got some primer on the body. I got primer on all the pieces. The chassis is all done with the modifying. I lengthened it in here. I lengthened it back here. And the interior tub, I had to cut out for the engine to fit, and transmission. That's kind of, it goes in somewhere like that. So being as I had to cut so much out of here, I took the console from the Willys and I actually widened it. Just kept adding styrene, gluing it stacked on top of each other, and then hogged the inside out. Really not a lot of pedal room, but you know, it's a model. Nobody's going to see that stuff. But when everything goes together pretty good now. This back half is from the Willys kit, and this piece is from the 40 Ford kit, so I grafted them together. And the front, I narrowed the front a little bit because I didn't like the wheels sticking out. They weren't sticking out, but there wasn't enough, they weren't in far enough like to be able to steer. So I sliced this, just squeezed it together. And when I did that, not realizing that it was going to change the camber, which what it would be on the front end, because where's my front piece? This cross member goes onto here. There's locator pins. But when you narrow that, You also have to narrow this, and I couldn't get the camber right where the wheels were straight up and down, so I kept plugging holes and re-drilling them, which actually gave me a little bit less track width, which is perfect. You know, it's just what I wanted. So that all will go together like this. And we'll have a nice low stance in the front end. So that's basically how that's going to look. You can see the wheels are in just far enough that actually they can steer. And this car will steer too. I forgot about that. Probably not in exact locations because things are falling apart on me, but you get the idea. It's going to work out pretty good, I think. Went with the 351 Cleveland from an old NASCAR kit. And like I said, it's not a Ford transmission, but it's okay. I did a locator pin here and used the factory mounts from the Willys. So when that goes up in, it should all fit. It did fit before. Yeah, that's where the engine's going to be. Everything's going to fit under the hood. I don't have an intake on there, but you can see there's a lot of hood room. It's one nice thing about a 44, there's a lot of hood room. And I'm going to use the rear tires and wheels from the Willys. Should sit nice and low, about like that. So I'm getting there. And I'm having fun. I haven't been doing as much. I don't know why. I just seem like I don't have as much time. And when I do have time, it feels like I'm not motivated. But I'll get there. It's supposed to be a hobby, no pressure. So whenever I get done, I get done. That is about it for now. So thanks for watching, and tune in next time. See ya.